String superstar Slash in downtown New York last night. The guitar god from Guns N' Roses is now in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's battled addictions, and even Axl Rose. Now, Slash has achieved iconic status with a style all of his own. He now joins me for a primetime exclusive. Welcome, Slash.
Hi.
People won't know this, but Copenhagen, the early 90s, Guns N' Roses at the height of their powers. You and I conducted our first interview together, and at the end of it you said, would you like a Jack Daniels, which I'd never experienced before. I tasted the Jack Daniels, and 12 hours later, you and I were in a piano bar in some godforsaken hellhole hotel, still drinking Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
And you walked off into the sunset with my favourite jacket, which I never got back.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I thought it was a price worth paying.
I would love to be able to find that jacket and give it back to you, but I'm afraid I cannot find it.
It fitted me. It was everything I wanted in a jacket.
Right.
But you just took it.
But
you had about 1,000 jackets. What he told me that, though, it was, I've said this many times on the show, it was the single greatest rock performance I've ever seen by anybody. It was just incredible. Secondly, it was one of the most outrageous spectacles the whole 24 hours I've ever been party to. Fighting at press conferences, drunken rampaging. It was everything I imagined and hoped rock and roll could be about. And thirdly, the interview, when I then played it back, was one of the most lucid, smart, intelligent interviews I'd done with anyone for a long time. And it wasn't supposed to be that way.
Probably not. I mean, all things considered, as much partying and all that stuff that went on in those days, I always tried to be somewhat intelligent when it came to sort of having a discussion with somebody, or an interview or whatever. I did my best. I had my moments, but there were times when I was really out to lunch.
Talking about to lunch, I interviewed Greg Allman last night, another rock legend, but he obviously had a lot of problems with drugs and stuff, and I just got the feeling he slightly jumped the shark.
Right.
Whereas when I re-interviewed you recently for GQ magazine a couple of years ago, you clearly hadn't. You'd come through the whole process, the whole rock and roll destructive process, and you'd come out the other end, apparently with no damage. Do you feel lucky?
I was very fortunate. Because the kind of addiction that I had was something that was a long-term kind of a thing, and getting out of that is really a struggle for a lot of people, and some people don't make it out of it. So I was very fortunate that I could finally get it together and prioritize and come out the other end in one piece, so to speak.
We're going to discuss the new album, the new Slash album soon, but I can't not discuss Guns N' Roses. I know that you sort of hate all this because although it was fantastic and you sold millions of records and it was so iconic, because of the way it ended, you don't want to sit here banging on about Axl Rose for the rest of your life.
Right.
Do you?
No. Yeah, it's a lot of attention put on a lot of negative stuff, and granted the negative stuff existed and might still exist or whatever, but dwelling on that stuff, all things considered, I left the band in 1996, so we're talking a pretty long amount of time that I haven't really been focused on.
When was the last time you actually spoke, you two?
That was 1996.
Do you remember the last words? Are they repeatable?
No, it wasn't like that. I think the last word, basically it was just that I'm done. I think that was...
Who said that?
I did.
I'm done.
Yeah, and it wasn't even me necessarily leaving the band. It was not continuing on with the new band that Axl put together that he was now at the helm of, which was the new Guns N' Roses, and I was, given a contract to basically join his new band. And, it took about 24 hours before I decided, I think this is the end of the line.
What is the single biggest offer you've had to put it all behind you and get back on a stage together?
Well, I've heard a lot of numbers thrown around.
What's the most ridiculous?
I've never been, handed a specific offer, but, it's in the...
7 figures, 8 figures?
I'd say it starts off with 7 figures, and then sometimes it starts to get, even more grandiose than that.
Is there any check that would tempt you?
I don't think it's a matter of that. It really isn't. I think you've got a situation where nobody involved wants to revisit. It's not just me, it's the whole the whole band. And so I don't think there's a price tag that anybody's going to put in front of us that's going to make that work.
Let's take a short break. I want to come back and I want to talk to you about what has been the greatest moment for you on a stage. You once hinted that it was a night in Argentina
Right.
with 250,000 people, thunderstorm, steam, November rain. I want to know if that's still the moment. Don't answer yet.
Oh, okay. All right.
After the break. Well, I'll leave on the cliffhanger.
All right.
Two new shows join CNN tonight.